Welcome to the Transition Nursing Information Session. This virtual session is designed to provide important information regarding Piedmont Technical College's Transition Nursing Program. If you are a licensed practical nurse who is interested in continuing your education to complete an associate degree in nursing, then this session is for you. It is mandatory to complete this session before you will be considered for entry into the transition program. This online version will take you approximately 30 minutes, and please click anywhere on the screen to advance to the next slide. If you are looking to enroll in our transition nursing program, you must first understand the distinct requirements for entry into the program, as well as the policies for continuing the program through to completion. Therefore, you must not only view this presentation in its entirety, but you must also provide evidence that you have viewed and understand the material presented. You will provide this evidence by completing a brief online questionnaire after you view the presentation. You will need a copy of the Transition Nursing Information Session Guidelines for your review and future reference. If you have not already printed these guidelines, please return to the Transition webpage and click on the link that will take you to the Transition Nursing Program Guidelines. Please print out the entire packet. Once you print out the guidelines, you may return to this presentation. Let's discuss some general information about the program. The transition program has been developed for current LPNs, and it allows you the opportunity to complete an associate degree in nursing or ADN program without beginning at the freshman level. Students who are admitted into the transition program will complete the transition class, Nursing 201, with the grade of C or better, and then they enter the senior level of the ADN curriculum. It is worth noting that the transition program includes a total of 4 semesters of coursework, 1 semester for the transition class, and then 3 semesters of senior level classes that follow it. In order to apply to enter the transition program, you must meet all eligibility requirements. In addition to completing this mandatory information session, the first requirement is to possess and maintain an unencumbered active practical nursing license. It must be current, and you must be in good standing with the agency that issued the license. The second requirement is that you must have successfully completed all required general education courses with the grade of C or better before you can apply for program entry. Required courses are English 101, Math 102, which is intermediate algebra, or Math 120, probability and statistics, Psych 201, an elective from the Humanities and Fine Arts category, and Biology 210 and 211, Anatomy and Physiology 1 and 2. For the Anatomy and Physiology classes, you are only permitted 2 attempts to make a grade of C or better. If you plan to eventually complete a Bachelor of Science in Nursing, you should choose Math 120 instead of Math 102. Please note, the packet that you should have printed contains a list of the qualifying electives. The third requirement is to make sure your coursework meets Piedmont Tech time limits. Coursework is time sensitive, which means that completed coursework has an expiration date. Biology and computer courses expire when they reach 5 years old. All other general education courses expire when they reach 10 years of age. For example, if you took English 101 and passed it 12 years ago, you cannot automatically count on getting credit for it, and you might have to retake it, even if you originally took it at Piedmont Tech. Courses are evaluated for credit through our Student Records Office, and any courses that appear to have expired must go through a specific review process. It is ultimately your responsibility to work with the Student Records Office to verify that credit for all required coursework has been officially awarded before you apply to the program. Evaluation of transcripts, even Piedmont Tech transcripts, can take weeks. If your courses are not officially posted in our system when your application for the transition program is submitted, your application will not be considered. The fourth requirement is that you must have a PTC cumulative GPA of at least a 2.0. You must also maintain a GPA of at least 2.0 to continue in the program. The fifth requirement is that you may not have had an unsuccessful attempt in any ADN program as a licensed PN. In other words, if you received your practical nursing license and then enrolled in an associate degree nursing program and you were unsuccessful in that program, you are not eligible for the PTC transition program. The sixth requirement involves passing a specific nursing test in order to apply to enter the program. We use the NLN Foundation of Nursing exam as an entrance exam for the transition program. You must take this computerized exam and pass it with a score of at least 55 percentile. That's 55 percentile, not 55%. The content of the test is fundamentals and med-surg material that you should have learned in your PN courses. Topics like pain, fluid and electrolyte imbalance, incontinence, infectious disease, loss of consciousness, chronic illness, death and dying, preoperative and postoperative care, and stress. There is not a published study guide for this exam, so be sure to study any fundamentals and med-surg materials you may have from your PN courses before you take this test. It is important to study because you will have only one attempt to pass this exam. Failure to pass the exam the first time with a score of 55 percentile or better will make you ineligible for the transition program at Piedmont Tech. Students who do not score at least 55 percentile will have no future opportunity to take the test to enter the program. However, please note that successful test scores are only good for 5 years. To take the test, call 864-941-8724 to schedule an appointment. The test is offered on limited dates, which are posted on the transition webpage. A testing fee of $60 must be paid to the PTC business office, and you must bring a copy of the receipt to your test appointment. In addition to the NLN exam, students must take the Hobbit 5, which is a test of math and reading ability. To be eligible for transition, you must score at least 65% in both the math and reading sections. Contact the Student Success Center to get more information about preparing for the Hobbit or to sign up for a testing appointment. A testing fee of $30 must be paid to the business office in order to take the Hobbit. Before we move on, let me stress that all of the eligibility requirements that we have discussed must be completed and officially documented in the Piedmont Tech database before your application to enter the transition program will even be considered. Let's move on to the policies of the transition program itself. Once you are accepted for entry into the transition program, you will be invited to a mandatory transition orientation meeting. A criminal records check and urine drug testing is performed on all direct patient caregivers upon program entry. This means you will be required to complete a consent form at the transition orientation, and you must bring a copy of the receipt from the business office to prove you have paid the fees necessary for the criminal record check and drug screen. Any pending criminal charges or a conviction may make you ineligible for clinical participation, which would most likely disqualify you from the PTC nursing program. It is your responsibility to make sure your record is totally clear. Students are required to submit to a urinalysis drug testing program prior to beginning the nursing program and annually thereafter, or at the request of the college or clinical site provider. Please refer to your packet for a listing of drugs that are included in the test. The results of both the criminal records check and the drug test will be available for review by designated personnel at each of our clinical sites, as well as designated personnel at Piedmont Tech. Your criminal records check must be accepted at each of our clinical sites in order for you to successfully complete the clinical component. Each site has its own specific policies, and it has the right to refuse you admission for a clinical experience based on the results of a criminal records check or drug test. Once you are in the nursing program, if you have to sit out of your nursing classes for a semester or longer, you must pay for and submit to another criminal records check and drug test before being allowed back into the program. The next program policy refers to attempts. Once you have successfully completed the transition class, you will have 2 attempts to complete the remainder of your nursing courses. This means you could fail or withdraw from a nursing course only 1 time and be readmitted back into the program as space permits. If you fail or withdraw a second time, readmission is not an option. Specific details about attempts and our readmission process are contained in the PTC Student Nurses Handbook. And please be aware that you must successfully complete the transition class, Nursing 201, on your first try, which means you only have 1 attempt at that class. If you fail or withdraw from Nursing 201, you would not be eligible to continue in the transition program, and your only option would be to start over at the very beginning of our generic ADN program. Policy number 3. After you successfully complete the transition class, you must enter the following 3 semesters of nursing classes within 1 year, or you will no longer be eligible for the transition program. Also note that there are time limits for completing the program. After you complete the transition class, you will then have 24 months to complete the remaining 3 semesters of coursework. That gives you 2 years to complete 1 year of coursework. And in order to graduate from Piedmont Tech, 25% of the required courses must be completed at PTC. If you take the transition class and the following 3 semesters at PTC, you will fulfill this 25% requirement. Moving on to the 4th program policy. Students in the program will be required to pass a math medication competency test to complete the ADN program. Number 5. Once you have been accepted into the transition program, you will be required to provide specific documentation to show current immunizations, a health assessment by your physician, and up-to-date CPR training. The specific CPR training that we require is CPR for healthcare providers. You will also be required to read the PTC Student Nurses Handbook, which is published online, print the signature page, and sign and submit the signature page by the first day of class. Failure to provide any of the required documents by the deadline can result in loss of your spot in the program. Policy number 6 states that any practical nurse who graduated more than 1 year prior to applying to the transition program must provide proof that they have been working as a PN. You must have worked as a PN sometime within the past 2 years with a minimum of 960 hours of practical nursing employment. Once accepted into the program, you will be required to provide a letter from your employer to verify your employment. As we look at number 7, we learn how the available seats in the program are awarded. The transition class is offered each fall, and there are a limited number of openings available. To determine the order in which we admit applicants into the program, we look at the date that each applicant submitted an application to the admissions office, listing transition nursing as their major. It is not based on the order that the actual transition applications are submitted, but on the date your general PTC application was submitted to the admissions office. So now that we have an understanding of the eligibility requirements and the program policies, let's cover the steps in the application process. Although some of these steps can be done in a different order, we will discuss them in the order best recommended. First of all, complete the Piedmont Technical College application for admissions and submit it to the admissions office. Indicate your major as transition nursing. To make sure your application stays active in our system, you may take classes at PTC or contact the admissions office to update it yearly. As previously stated, the date of this application is what we go by when deciding the order of eligible applicants into the transition program. Therefore, it is important to keep your application active. Next, complete the transition nursing information session, which you are doing right now. If you complete this online virtual session and correctly submit the post-session questionnaire, you will receive official credit for this session. Third, be sure to submit copies of college transcripts for all transfer coursework. An official copy must be sent from the college or university to the Piedmont Tech Student Records Office. If you graduated from Piedmont Tech, contact student records to verify that your general education classes have not expired. The fourth step is to complete, with the grade of C or better, any of the required general education courses for which you were not awarded credit. Fifth, take and pass the NLN Foundation of Nursing exam. You must score at least 55 percentile on the test to pass, and you have only one attempt to pass it. The sixth step is to take and pass the Hobbit 5 test, and pass it with a 65% in math and a score of 65% in reading. Finally, number 7, when you have met all the eligibility requirements previously covered in this presentation and noted in your packet, you may submit an application for the transition program. This electronic application is accepted only during the specified application period and is accessible on the transition web page only during the application period. Once your application is received and processed, you will be notified via postal mail of the results. You should receive this notification by the date posted on the website. Please do not contact the college to inquire about the status of your application unless that date has passed without written notification. Questions about the transition program requirements may be directed to the nursing support counselor. However, questions about whether you will receive transfer credit for certain classes should be directed to student records. The nursing support counselor does not review transcripts and is unable to address those questions. Let's briefly discuss a special exception related to the anatomy and physiology classes, Bio 210 and 211. As previously stated, our policy specifies that biology coursework has a 5-year expiration. However, we may make an exception for practical nurses who have been working as an LPN. In order to do this, you must first make sure your official transcript has been submitted to the Piedmont Tech Student Records Office. If you are a PTC graduate, your records will already be on file. Next, have your employer send a letter to the PTC Student Records Office to verify your employment as an LPN. The actual details about the contents of the letter, as well as the address to which the letter should be sent, are spelled out in your transition packet. The transcript and letter will be reviewed, and it will be determined if credit can be awarded. You will receive a letter telling you the results. There are a couple of items to note about the application process. Applications for students who do not get a spot in the program will not be kept on file after the application period ends. If you wish to be considered for the transition program in the future, you would have to submit a new application during each application period. As mentioned, the transition class is offered each fall. Transition applications for each fall are accepted only during the month of May. During the application period, the application form for the transition program will be online for you to complete and submit. You will find that application at www.ptc.edu/transition. This slide shows the application process. Please review it and make sure you understand and complete everything. A. Apply to the PTC admissions office. B. Complete this transition nursing information session. C. Meet all eligibility requirements for program entrance. D. Submit the transition application during the application period. And E. Wait for notification, and if accepted, follow any further directions given at that time. Thank you for completing this online version of the Transition Nursing Information Session. You must complete the post-session questionnaire to get credit for this session. Please click on the box at the bottom of the screen to do so. When you submit this questionnaire, you are stating that you completed the session, that you understand all the information that has been shared, and that you agree to abide by all the requirements and policies of the Piedmont Technical College Transition Nursing Program. Please be sure to visit the Transition webpage often, as program requirements may change periodically.